Good Thursday evening, everyone. Welcome to Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. We're getting ready to kick off Week 15 with the Chiefs and Chargers. My name's John, once again along with Sean. Sean, how are you tonight?
I'm good, John.
Good. What are you thinking of tonight's game just on the surface before we take a deeper look?
I think it'll be a good game. It's gonna be a high scoring matchup. I just think for the fact that it's an AFC West battle for pretty much who wins the division, just for the fact that whoever wins this game takes, I believe, the division lead. So it's going to be a very meaningful game on both sides.
It will. The Chiefs right now do lead, but if the Chargers win the game, they'll have the same record, but the Chargers would have won both games against the Chiefs, so they'll have the tiebreaker. And before we jump in to some of our projections for tonight, guys, I just want to remind you we are running a fantasy playoff challenge. Sean has set that up. The link is down in the description. If you guys are interested, we'll worry about the money once the actual NFL playoffs start. So if you have any questions, leave a comment on the video or follow us on Twitter at PA Fantasy Sports, and we'll get you in. And looking forward to that. Sean, what do you think of the playoff challenge? We played it last year. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because it makes you think about if you want to sacrifice your wild card round to have all double points for the second round, or if you can predict right and you get all your lineup from the first round to the second round to be right, and then move on to the third, and if you can have all your team almost hit a Super Bowl almost. So it makes it interesting because the people that have bad first and second round could end up being the ones that win it all because they're predicting to the Super Bowl. So it makes you think the long game and not the short game for that.
Yeah, agreed. Like you said, trying to figure out if you want to hold on to somebody for double points in the second week, but actually with only having one team getting first round buys in each conference, that kind of changes it up a little bit. There's not as much this year like last year where there were two teams from each conference.
Yeah. Last year, I'm pretty sure my lineup I consumed of Chiefs and Packers because that's where I was going with for a Super Bowl, and I thought it was going to end up being, and I half the team right, but it was the other half that hurt me because I wasn't all the way ready.
And I think the team that won last year actually had it was pretty close up until the end, until Tampa Bay made the Super Bowl, and that the guy that had a lot of the Bucks had like quadruple points or something in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the defense and everything, and they put up so many interceptions and turnovers. It made it. I think he almost had 100 points just in his defense that game.
Yeah, so crazy. So guys, like I said, if you're interested, leave a comment in the chat, even or at the end of the video if you're watching afterwards. Let me see. I think I saved this to look at tonight's stats. Let's bring this up. And guys, if you do have a question, just go ahead and ask it. We'll get to it. It doesn't have to be about tonight's game. It could be about any of the games over the weekend. Right now, Sean, I do have it set up. I do have stream set up for Saturday at 4:00. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to be able to get to do that. But if you're willing to join me, I do have one set up for 4:00 on Saturday. Just a quick one to go over the two games that are there if we don't get to them tonight. But speaking of tonight's game, let's put the stats on the screen here. So what are you thinking for Mahomes and Herbert tonight?
Yeah, I think that they're both guaranteed must starts. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I like Herbert more than I like Mahomes. Mahomes hasn't really been throwing many touchdown passes of late, and especially with Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, they have the ability to run the ball more with him and Darrell Williams. So I like Herbert more for the fact that he's going to sling the ball around, especially to Eckler, Allen, or Williams.
Yeah, agreed. I like Herbert more as well, not just because he's on my fantasy team, but I just think just the matchup to me is better for Herbert. Running backs, what are you thinking of Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I don't know why I have Williams on there twice, but but Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Eckler definitely.
Yeah, both of them are must guaranteed. Darrell Williams, if you were in a long, like 3-4 flex roster, I mean, then yeah. Or if you're battling a lot of COVID, then I would put him in as a long shot if you have him in your roster, just for the fact that he is worth having because he's going to get the touches when Edwards-Helaire is out on rest, and he's good on passing downs on third down. I think the last 2 weeks, even with Edwards-Helaire back, he's actually scored 2 touchdowns in the 2 games. So he's still scoring just as much.
Yeah, and how about wide receivers on the surface? Definitely Tyreek Hill and Keenan Allen. Williams is definitely, I have him ranked as a wide receiver 2 this week. We had some questions on Twitter come in today, and I was telling a guy, definitely start Williams in a wide receiver 2 or a flex spot. He averages 13 and a half. He averages 15.1 points in a PPR league. And we have him at, I believe, 13.5 this week. So what are you thinking with the wide receivers tonight?
I like Tyreek, but at the same time, I don't, just because he hasn't been himself of late. He hasn't been able to wide the space open. But on the Charger side of the ball, I like Keenan Allen a lot, just for the fact him and Herbert have been on page a lot, and I'm pretty sure he's averaging almost 9 to 10 receptions of late a game. Where Mike Williams, I mean, even last week without Allen, he still didn't have a big game. Guyton, the third stringer there, had a bigger game than Mike Williams. So I like Allen and Williams. If he can get into the end zone like he was in the beginning of the year, I think he's worth it. But if you don't need to start Williams tonight and you have other receiver options, I would probably go with that route just because Allen's back. And I know Williams was battling an ankle. I believe he rolled up his ankle last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like Williams a little bit tonight, but definitely with Allen being back. If you have Allen, make sure he's in your lineups tonight. Tyreek Hill. I just looked. I just noticed both fantasy teams are good against. Both defenses are good against fantasy wide receivers. The Chargers are ranked second, not giving up many points, and the Chiefs eighth. So that could mean Clyde Edwards-Helaire and maybe Eckler having bigger nights than I have projected tonight.
Yeah, they're both teams are really good against the defense passing wise. So it'll be interesting to see. I think you'll see a lot of the running back being used a lot out of the backfield, where Eckler is really good at that. I also took notice today, Eckler, since I think week 4 has only been averaging about 90 to 100 yards combined yardage. So a lot of his fantasy numbers have actually come as scoring touchdowns of late, and he's not been getting the yardage like he was in the beginning of the year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, so that's 90 combined. So his numbers, yeah, he's not even getting 100 combined.
Yeah, he's only been averaging 56 yards rushing a game this year, which is odd for him, knowing they run the ball, but they've been passing a lot more because of teams they've been playing have been able to run stop, especially with their division people. They do stop to run a lot.
Maybe that's something I'm going to take a look at that, see how tough that would be to add that to our numbers here. Looking at average total yards and stuff like that instead of just average fantasy points. Because I know a lot of guys do look at that. So thanks for that little information there. I'll look to add that. But tight ends, what do you think of the tight ends tonight? Definitely Kelsey. But what about Cook? Cook, I have 15th. Is he really worth? I mean, if he's your only option, you have to go with him. But besides that, probably not on many fantasy teams.
I would just roll with Kelsey. It's hard to trust anyone on the Chargers side of the ball for tight end wise. They're very inconsistent. Kelsey, though, of late even hasn't been putting up numbers. I know he's the number 2 rank on the season, but you also got to put in the account Darren Waller's been injured a lot of the year, and a lot of the other tight ends don't see the ball as much as him. I pretty much, if George Kittle was around, he would be putting up numbers just as much, which is odd for Travis Kelce not to be putting up as big of numbers as he's used to. But I just think the teams have been coming to late of double teaming Tyreek and Kelce and making the Chiefs beat you with everyone else and making someone else have to score on you as well.
Yeah, and actually, we'll get into some of the other rankings here in a little bit. But this is the first week, and I'd have to go back week by week. But this is the first week I actually have Kittle projected ahead of Kelce this week.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle he's on a tear of late. I think he's averaging over the last 3 games 130 yards and 2 touchdowns almost. I think he's like 1.6 touchdowns. So it's weird when you sit here and say Travis Kelce hasn't scored a touchdown, I think, in like 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's been a few weeks for him. So he's due. I mean, I hope he scores one tonight, but it's hard to say with how he's been playing of late and how the Chiefs offense hasn't really had to do much because of the defense is helping them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me look. Kickers, we got Butker and Hopkins. Hopkins is ranked 12th on the year. I have him 14th for the week. Butker is second and 6th on the week. You never know what kickers are going to do.
Yeah,
what do you think of these 2 guys tonight?
I don't like Hopkins. The Chargers have really bad luck with kickers. Butker, I mean, he's on a high-scoring offense who usually is in field goal range at minimum. So if they're not scoring touchdowns and he's kicking PATs, he's able to kick 55-yard field goals with ease. He's second. I would say he's either second or third best in the league to Justin Tucker and Nick Folk on the Patriots, but which both teams are really good at scoring almost as much as they can almost every drive. So you know that they're going to put points on the board. So I trust Butker for the night if you have him on your roster.
Yeah, I agree, and I do have him on my roster. We have our playoff starting this week in our Dynasty League, so I actually have 3 guys in tonight's game. So I'm actually hoping for a shootout and some big points tonight. But the defenses, I don't like either defense.
I like the Chiefs.
I think it's gonna. I don't like the Chiefs because last I saw, let me look at my notes here. I saw that Snead and Gay were out, and that Chris Jones was on the COVID list. So that's going to hurt their defense a little bit.
Yeah.
But what do you think of those guys? Is Jones going to play, or I haven't seen a
I haven't looked of late. But I trust the Chiefs defense for the fact that the cornerbacks and the safeties, especially Tyrann Mathieu, he's been playing through injury and he's been stepping it up and playing of great of late. So I like the Chiefs defense just for the fact over the last 5 games, they're averaging of points they've given up is 9 points a game. And the first 5 games of the year, they were averaging 32 points a game. So that's a big turnaround since the trade deadline.
Wow,
and they also played the Cowboys in that 5-game stretch, the Packers, and the Raiders. So 3 high scoring offenses that only average under 9 points. So I think that unless the Chargers are able to throw all over them tonight, if they try to run just Eckler, I don't know if they're going to be able to do very much. I think that it's going to come down to throwing on both sides of the ball tonight, more or less.
Yeah. And I don't know about Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield. I know Eckler catches a lot out of the backfield. So I see a big night definitely from him. I know last week we talked, or Sunday we talked, you were fighting for a playoff spot in one of your fantasy leagues. How did that turn out? Because I know the other league, you have a first-round bye, so.
I pretty much ended it on Thursday night. I had Najee Harris and Dalvin Cook combined for 70 points. So at that point, 2 of my players already put up almost 80 or 100 points already there. So yeah, I won by about 90 points overall. I pretty much didn't need anyone else to show up. Their team only put up 64 points, so my two players alone beat them. But now I go into this week and battling the COVID bug on my whole team. So hopefully that everyone I pick up and isn't injured can possibly play for me. But I mean, battle it out. It's just been a weird year for fantasy with injuries and the COVID protocols.
Yeah, and it seems to be hitting really tough here at the end of the year with a lot of teams. So I don't know. I don't know what the league is going to do. I know in some parts of the NHL they are going without fans. I hope the
Yeah,
NFL doesn't do that, but I don't know. What do you think?
it's. I know they ramped up the protocols again. They said today was 100% masks and regardless of vaccines and everything else. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out from all this.
Yeah. Anything else on tonight's game before we take a look at the rest of the week's schedule?
No, I say let's jump in and we'll talk about some Saturday games and some of the Sunday games since there's less on Sunday this week with having the two Saturday games.
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday we kick off at 4:30 with the Raiders and Browns. Speaking of COVID, I know a lot of Browns are on that list. I know Baker's on that list. I know somehow if they get two negative tests, they can play, but I don't know how it all works. So tough matchup here. I was on. We usually have Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy, his YouTube channel. I was on his show last night. We were going over all the games. Originally, I was leaning Browns, but last night I picked the Raiders. What do you think of the game?
I like the Raiders. I mean, even though they're traveling from the Midwest to the East Coast to play in the cold Cleveland, I just think if Baker doesn't play, Landry doesn't play, I don't think that they're going to be able to just run the offense around with Nick Chubb, and I'm pretty sure Kareem Hunt might even is doubtful to play as well. So it's hard to play with all backups and hope and pray your defense shows up. I mean, even look at this past Sunday, if they didn't go up to a 24-0 lead against Baltimore, they didn't do it. They only had like 30 yards of offense in the second half. So their offense isn't playing up great. It's coming on to turnovers. So I think if Oakland or Las Vegas doesn't have turnovers, it's going to be hard for them not to beat them.
Yeah, agreed. And then the late game on Saturday, we have the Patriots going to Indianapolis. We won't actually do a pick 'em here, but what do you think of the matchup? And then I'll give my take.
I like the Patriots just because they're on a roll. They're playing great right now, and even when they're playing on the road, they're still playing top notch. So I think they'll be able to outsmart Indianapolis and be able to beat them and almost take control of the 1 seed.
Yeah, I actually like Indianapolis at home. I know by fantasy numbers, New England gives up a ton of points to running backs. And I expect Jonathan Taylor to have a big week. And I have looked. I don't have the actual stats, but it looks like the Patriots have only scored one offensive touchdown each of the last two games. Speaking of NFL chaos with Jeremy, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on. Jeremy, thanks for joining the stream. How are you this evening? Oh, are you muted? You might be muted. Nope, still not hearing you.
I'm not a good lip reader.
Nope. So, Sean, what do you think of the Patriots offense struggling a little bit? So their defense is leading them, but I think Taylor's going to be able to have a big day.
It's their offense, so you can't really bank on what they were last week when they played Buffalo or 2 weeks ago, with that win game. So I think as long as Mac Jones doesn't get as much pressure, I think if he can throw the ball around the field with the 4 running back crew that Bill Belichick rolls with, I think they'll be able to change. They have all their change of pace running backs and everything, so I think that'll help them. against with Jonathan Taylor. Their defense is playing lights out. Their linebackers are playing great, and even the defensive line. So I think if they can bunch up Jonathan Taylor to like 3-4 yard gains and don't give out that 20-yard, 30-yard gain, I think if you have to force Carson Wentz to throw the ball, I just don't know if the Colts can beat the Patriots with their defense with Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Well, let's welcome in Jeremy again. Jeremy, how are you this evening?
I'm okay. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you now. I was telling everybody I recorded a show with you last night. You actually aired it today. We went game by game to make our predictions, and right now Sean and I are on the Patriots and Colts game. I don't have. We both took the Colts. What are you thinking of that game Saturday night?
I just think that the Colts have found a really great rhythm with their running back. Overall, they've been playing much better. They got off to a really rough start, and they've been fighting to overcome it. They've had some tough breaks, but I really like their defense and their ability to take the ball away. I'm thinking if they can get to Mac Jones at all, they might be able to force some turnovers. And I think that they're really hungry. This is do or die back against the wall. And I think they got a ton of talent, amazing offensive line. I know Belichick likes to take away another team's strengths, but I don't know if they're going to be able to take away the Colts running game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sean, anything to add to that game before we move on? No, it looks like Sean's muted as well now.
No, I just I like the Patriots defense. I just think they're playing too great right now. I mean, they just shut down Josh Allen, even in the win game. They're not really giving up the big plays. The last time that they lost was when they played Dallas, and that was almost 2 months ago. So I just think that they have confidence rolling with their offense right now. And once they get the lead, they know how to change the pace and play their offense. And I think that's what changes the game for them. I think if they can keep the lead going into the second half against Indianapolis and make, like I said, Carson Wentz have to throw the ball, I'm not sure if Carson Wentz with the Patriots defense and the pressure that they put on a quarterback is going to be able to beat them.
Yeah. Let's move on to actually let's let Jeremy give a take on tonight's game. Kansas City and I almost said San Diego, the Chargers. I wonder how well Chiefs fans travel, because if they do, it could probably sound like a Chiefs home game out there in LA.
Probably.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs in that game. Even though it's in San Diego, I think they're gonna be pretty hungry to avenge their loss. It's hard to imagine them getting swept by any team. You know, Andy Reid is such a great coach. And I think Kansas City is just gaining the momentum, right? They're just getting more and more into their rhythm. And San Diego, I mean, LA, see, I almost did it too. The Chargers, they still have to prove to me that they can be that team that wins the big games consistently and shows up each week consistently. In the past bunch of years, they haven't been able to do that. So I'm not going to just jump on their train so fast. You have to earn that, like that belief that you're going to just roll and win big games week after week. And LA just haven't proven that yet to me.
Gotcha. And we did talk a little bit about the Raiders and the Browns, with the Browns issues with all the players on the COVID list. What are your quick thoughts on that one as well?
I just like the Raiders in that game. I just think Cleveland's dealing. I think that both teams have faced a lot of adversity, a lot of crazy, horrendous things this year that's happened to both teams. But I think that I just have a feeling the Raiders will take this one down because of the COVID situation. It's just it's an unfortunate situation that this happens to teams and it's impacting the different weeks. But I think I took them yesterday and I'll stick with them again. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I just think the Raiders are going to come away with it.
We did both take the Raiders in that game.
Yeah, I like the Raiders for the fact that whoever wins this game on Saturday night pretty much is knocking the other team out of playoff contention because they'll have the tiebreaker. And with week 15, there's no way that they're going to be able to jump them almost in seeding unless they lose a lot. So I look at the fact that the Raiders have more to lose than the Browns, for the fact that the Browns have been playing almost with like pure luck lately. I mean, the games that they've been winning have been really close games and have needed a lot of luck late in order to get it. And they're not playing phenomenal with their offense. It's more their defense, where when the Raiders are rolling, it's offense is rolling, defense is rolling. So, and especially if Darren Waller's back on the field on Saturday night, I think that's going to be a big game changer as well.
Yeah, agreed with Waller. Guys, let's go to Sunday's games. Leading off, we have Arizona and Detroit. I think I know Detroit does play a lot of games close, and D Hop is out for Arizona, but I like Arizona in that game. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty sure you'll probably see Kyler Murray on the bench by the third quarter, end of the third quarter there, just for the fact that I think they're going to go in there just going to cruise through it. Even without DeAndre Hopkins, they've been playing without him for so long of late with his injury that I think they've gotten kind of used to it. AJ Green's going to have to step up and play like he did when he was coming into the league, and Christian Kirk as well. And then with their trade acquisition of getting Zach Ertz, I think that he'll have to come forward and help as well. And as long as they play like they did with the Rams on Monday night, if they can use James Conner out of the backfield as well as catching and running the ball, and then when Chase Edmonds comes back, I think that their team is almost just as lethal without DeAndre Hopkins as it is with him.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? Your thoughts on that Cardinals Lions?
Yeah, I just think Arizona is too good of a team. They're just a much better team. And, if you think, oh, there's a chance there could be some hope if like a trap game, if it was they were coming off, 5 wins or something, that maybe they'd get too comfortable and overlook it. But after losing to the Rams, they're not going to lose another one in a row. I mean, that certainly woke them up. They don't want to lose another game in a row, so they're not going to take the game lightly. They're going to come in there and they're going to take care of business, and that's what I would expect. So I just don't think Detroit has the talent, to compete with Arizona when Arizona is focused and wanting to win.
Yeah, let's head over to Carolina and Buffalo. Buffalo right now is the 7th seed in the AFC. Looking to get things turned around here, and I think they do that this week against Carolina. Carolina started off the year 3-0, and they're now 5-8. Just bad things happening down there. They fired their offensive coordinator during the bye week. Guys, what do you guys think of Carolina heading into Buffalo?
I don't know what to take of the offense for Carolina. Cam Newton came out and he was on fire, playing great, and then became a starter, and they seem to not trust him as much as being a quarterback. Every game they've been taking him out, 1 drive, putting him in, taking him out 2 drives, putting him in for 2. It's like you're not sure who the quarterback really is, and I don't know if the offense knows who the quarterback truly is right now. So I don't really know what to think of the offense. The defense, if they can control Josh Allen and make him have to throw the ball, I think they could get a turnover or 2 and force Josh Allen to have to be smarter with it. And if they're playing from behind, they prove that against Tampa Bay they can come back. But without having a running back able to take and run the ball, I'm just not sure how trustworthy the Bills can be if Josh Allen's the one that has to run the ball a lot, because he's been getting banged up running the ball a lot. I know that he's battling an ankle injury, so how much can you trust your franchise quarterback running the ball and taking all these big hits?
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to play Carolina if you're Buffalo. Like you know they're struggling. They need a win desperately. Why not play? You know, I thought Carolina was an overrated organization as far as coaching. The moment they traded for Sam Darnold, and I'm not just saying that as a Jet fan, you know, like because it was wishful thinking. I liked Sam Darnold as a person, and you know, we all wanted him to really succeed. But I knew like everybody was making such a big deal out of this coach rule and Joe Brady as coordinator. They were the hottest things in the world, and they hadn't done a thing in the NFL to earn that. And then they take Sam Darnold, who was like the 31st quarterback in the NFL, like one of the worst quarterbacks. And I'm thinking this is an overrated organization if they can't look at tape. You know, if they're going to buy into this ridiculous narrative that the Jets ruined Sam Darnold, if they were that foolish, I kind of saw this coming. So this is just an organization that's in shambles now, right? Firing your offensive coordinator before the first season comes to an end. Sam out, Cam comes in. They can't decide or they don't have any identity. That's what that is, right? When he comes in, comes out. You know, I know Buffalo's hurting a little bit, which is why it's perfect that they're playing Carolina, because I think Carolina's on a huge downward spiral.
Yeah, agreed. Then the next game is Dallas heading into Jersey to play the Giants. I know the Giants wide receiver core is a mess, but what do you guys think? I know Dallas can pretty much wrap up that division with a win. Sean, what do you think?
Do the Giants have enough offensive linemen to block Micah Parsons? I don't believe so, because Washington tried triple teaming him and choking him around his neck, and he still was able to get to the quarterback every play. So I'm pretty sure Dallas is going to win this one by at least 2 scores, just because the Giants don't have a healthy enough team to compete. They're just too inconsistent, and you don't know who's playing and who's going to perform, and it's just Dallas is just too good of a team, and the Giants just are a mess. And I wouldn't be shocked if they don't fire their coach by the end of the year, as well as even Carolina and joining Jacksonville as the coaches on the firing squad.
Yeah, agreed. Jeremy, how about your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'd go a step further. I'd say it's actually the Giants GM Gettleman that's on the hot seat. You know, I mean, he's been there for what is it, 4 or 5 years now. They still have no offensive line. I think he's taken 1 tackle in the last 4 or 5 years. It's been an issue for the Giants since their glory days. You know, about 8, 9 years now, they've had no offensive line. So I would think that the coach maybe, you know, for sure, because sometimes when you get rid of a GM, it's hard to find one that's going to adopt a coach. So it makes sense to get rid of both. But I think it goes all the way up to Gettleman. I think that they have no offensive line, and now you have this backup quarterback. There's a backup quarterback for a reason, and that organization just has not understood in the last bunch of years that you could add and sign all the specialty players you want. You could draft this great running back. It means nothing if you can't block, and that team cannot block.
Yeah, I actually saw a stat yesterday. Daniel Jones, since he's entered the league, among the 25 quarterbacks that has taken 1,000 snaps since he's entered the league, he ranks almost 24th in every stat except for rushing quarterbacks and how many yards he gets a game. I think he was top 8 for that stat, but the rest of them he was either 22nd to 24th in the rankings for like yards, turnovers, and win percentage and everything. And it just showed, everyone says that I wouldn't be shocked if Daniel Jones doesn't stay for another year as a starting quarterback in New York, and he doesn't end up getting either traded or just ends up being a backup.
Yeah, I remember when they took Jones. We have Sean and I have a good friend that's a big Giants fan, and man, we were riding him pretty hard, thinking, why are you? He's not even the best quarterback in the draft. Why are you taking him so high?
And they drafted up.
Yeah, so I don't understand that. The Giants do need a complete reboot. They need to do what the Jets finally did this year and tear it down and build it back up. It's gonna take a couple years because the Jets are doing it, and look, they're still 3-10 this year, and only maybe a game or so left on their schedule where they might be able to win. But yeah, the Giants have to do that.
Truthfully, I think what the Giants' only key thing to helping their squad for next year and helping their draft prospects for the next year or two, they got to somehow sign Saquon to his fifth-year contract and trade him for draft picks. That's probably the only saving grace. If they don't end up getting him to sign, and they either franchise tag him and he walks on that, and doesn't want to end up playing the fifth year, kind of like Le'Veon Bell, or he just says, I'm not going to sign at all, and they let him walk into free agency this year. He's worth the money if he's healthy and has an offensive line. If you put him behind some of the offensive lines like Cleveland, New England, Indianapolis, Arizona, probably about half the league, you put him behind that offensive line, he probably is able to get 80 to 100 yards rushing a game and have no issues. But when you put him behind, Jacksonville, Houston, his offensive line, he's only going to get 40, 50 yards, and he's going to have to break 10 tackles to get that.
Yeah, agreed. Let's take a look at Houston and Jacksonville. Today, the news came out that Jacksonville is getting rid of Urban Meyer. I don't know how coaches' salaries work because I know they're paying him $10 to $12 million a year. Coaches' salaries don't count against the salary cap, do they?
I'm pretty sure that's just paid almost by like the fan tickets and probably like concessions and all that, and by like I think all of that kind of stuff. I don't believe it's paid by the salary, but I could be wrong.
Gotcha. But what do you guys think of the game? I know in Jeremy's stream, I took the Texans, but now that Meyer's gone, the team might start rallying around each other. So Jacksonville, actually, I could see Jacksonville winning this game. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is the kind of game that can go either way, right? So, I think I think Jacksonville could win this game. They've looked really bad lately. And now you have Urban Meyer's gone. I mean, there's just a lot of crap going on there. I mean, to me, it's like a 50-50 game. This is a game I'd never put money on or bet on. It's just like one of those impossible games. I think Houston's been just more competitive in their games. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me because I just don't understand how, but they just seem to be. They actually gave Seattle a little run for their money for a while before Seattle pulled away. So that gives me a little bit feeling towards them, but it's very, very weak. I mean, it's like there's no surprise at all if Jacksonville wins the game.
I like Jacksonville for the fact that I think we're going to see what Trevor Lawrence really has and what the running back core has for Jacksonville. James Robinson hasn't really even touched the ball the last 2 weeks. I think he has like 12 combined carries, and before that, if he was getting like 18 to 20 carries a game, he was usually scoring a touchdown. So I just like the fact that Jacksonville, I think, wins this game. I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt their seeding for the draft, but I think at this point, they're more or less playing for pride and what little pride they're going to have left for the rest of this year for the fact that they brought Urban Meyer in and he lasted 14, almost 15 full weeks, including preseason. And from day one, everyone questioned it. I mean, I used to be a fan of Urban Meyer, but once he left Florida, said he had health issues, and then a year later he signed at Ohio State, and then he pulled the same thing there, saying I had health issues, and he walked away there, and then he went back to commentating again, and then he took this job. So it's just one of those. I don't believe he has it as a coach. I think he leaves when he knows that he's like kind of either going to lose his job or doesn't have what it takes to have the team behind him anymore, and he didn't have the team behind him at all for this whole year.
Yeah, and knowing some of the things that have come out, he'll never get another shot at a NFL head coaching job.
He probably won't get another job in football. He might make it as a high school coach, but they might not even want him.
You don't think any college would still take that risk?
No, just for the fact that he left Florida after winning a championship, then he went to Ohio State, won a championship there, and then he left after a couple down seasons, the same at Florida, and then he went to Jacksonville, and this was a complete and utter epic failure on the fact of Jacksonville for trusting him enough after everything that's come out.
Yeah, Jeremy, your thoughts on either, or any other thoughts on Meyer or the Texans Jaguars game?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those kind of games that's it's super super hard to call. I can see, like so. It's not like one of those things that someone says, if you think Jacksonville's going to win, I don't dispute that at all. It's like, okay, fine. It's like, cause like I just can't see. It was so hard to even pick a team for me. And as far as Urban Meyer's concerned, he just embarrassed himself,
Mm-hmm.
And he has to live with that. Made a fool of himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Without a doubt. I mean, I think if he was with any other franchise besides Jacksonville, I don't think he would have lasted through week 10 with all the stuff that came out, with all of the rumors with him, with the players and with coaches. The only thing I questioned last night, and me and you were talking about it last night, why did it take 17, 18 weeks for this to come out? And what all transpired for him to do that? Like, there's just a lot of questions and answers that we didn't get. And truthfully, I don't think it really matters. I think it was just one of those, it could be a complete lie just to get him fired sort of thing.
Yeah, agreed. Let's jump into the next game. Jeremy, our Jets are headed down to Miami to face the Dolphins. I know I became a Jet fan in 1986, and no matter how good or bad the Jets were, the Jets-Dolphins games were usually entertaining games. I know the Jets have been struggling here the last few years, but what do you think of this week's matchup?
Yeah, remember that when they used to be entertaining games?
Yep.
I went for my 40th birthday. I think it was like 15 to 10 or some crazy, just the worst, most horrific game you can imagine being at. And it seems like they've had a lot of those. I just think that, as much as I hate to say it, I think this is the worst time in his career right now for Zach Wilson to be going against a team that's having a lot of success forcing quarterbacks to make very quick decisions, because he's just in a very delicate part of his career where he's trying to get that ability, like to, not overthink and be able to make those quick decisions. And, I think I still believe in him and believe he'll be able to do that, but I don't think he's ready for this defense and the momentum Miami has right now. So I think it's going to be another really ugly game for the Jets. I don't think Miami is going to dominate or put up 40 points or anything like that. I think their defense for the Jets will look a little better and be able to compete with Miami. But overall, the Jets just aren't going to score enough points. And I think that we might see some turnovers, and it might get ugly for him based on just, what's been giving him trouble and what Miami is bringing to the table. And then with the injuries, from a fantasy perspective, it's like outside of like maybe Crowder will get you some points. Michael Carter's coming back, but it's off injury. But like from a receiver standpoint, like all the guys, like who is there? Cole,
right?
Like who you counting on? Like, Cole, Mims, he's been failing. Who is there? There's Berrios and Crowder, which is, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. So it doesn't even feel like Zach has any weapons, even if he could make the fast decisions.
Sean, any thoughts on the Jets Dolphins?
I actually, I'm not going to lie, I kind of give the Jets a 50% chance to win this game. The Dolphins are without their 2 top running backs, possibly 3, they said, with Gaskin, Ahmed, and Philip Lindsay with COVID and injuries. Jalen Waddle is doubtful last I saw it play. So with Devontae Parker's injury-prone year that he's only played, I think, like 3 or 4 games, can the Miami offense put enough points on the board that if the Jets don't have turnovers and can either run the ball successfully and even just doing small, short passes just to get down the field and even kick field goals, or that 1 occasional touchdown or 2 occasional touchdowns they can get, if they can get a turnover or 2 even on Tua and put the Jets up maybe, say, 10 points at most, what kind of Jets team will play against Miami, knowing that if they beat Miami, pretty much it's going to end Miami's playoff hopes. So every year you always have who's going to play the biggest spoiler for playoff teams. And I know the Jets last year went into LA and beat the Rams at home when they were like 20-point underdogs. So what makes me say that they can't go and beat Miami in Miami on the year that they've been having? So I know I was texting you on Sunday with the Jets game, and I said the Jets don't look bad. It's just it comes down to putting touchdowns on the board. You can't always have field goals, and that's the problem with the Jets. They got to find a way to put touchdowns on the board. So I think if with Michael Carter coming back, I think that changes the offense.
Yeah, I agree. So go ahead, Jeremy.
I hope you're right. It's nice to hear from the perspective of someone from the outside.
Yeah,
don't put money. Do not put $100 down on this. I'm not confident in it.
No.
But you're 50-50. That's a coin
I'm
flip.
50-50. $5 is pushing it. Maybe $4.50, but don't go 100.
Yeah, we're coming off a lot of negativity, so it's good to get an outside perspective of somebody looking in at the situation. But for us, we're kind of like just kind of feeling in the cellar, So we're feeling like we're kind of losing that spark that we can actually get wins. I think we're all looking forward to like the Jacksonville game. That's like the game we're thinking we can get a win.
Right.
I think if they win this game, honestly, I'm pretty sure this could be probably the victory of the year for them. But to be able to, knowing you play Jacksonville next week and what Jacksonville is as a team, they might be able to say for first time in a while they're on a winning streak.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So,
right.
When's the last multiple game winning streak the Jets had, John?
We looked it up. It was 2019. The last 2 weeks of the year, they beat Pittsburgh and Buffalo back-to-back weeks.
So play the odds, and I think this week they really do have a shot if they can control the turnovers. That's pretty much anybody nowadays. If you control turnovers, you win the game. But with the Jets, that's even bigger for the fact that they don't put many points up on the board. But I think if Tua is without his main threats and they're playing with practice squad running backs and wide receivers, their top wide receivers out, it's just, can the Jets put enough points on the offense to make Tua have to throw the ball a lot and see how many mistakes they can possibly get, because he's not a 100% perfect accurate quarterback. He's more of throw when I need to sort of thing.
Yeah, agreed. We're getting close to 8:00 here, so let's keep going here, guys. If you have any questions, fantasy related, throw them in the chat, and we'll answer those instead of going game by game here. But we got the Titans heading into Pittsburgh. I really would have liked the Titans if Derrick Henry was playing, but Pittsburgh being at home and needing a win to stay in the playoff hunt, I like Pittsburgh this week. Sean's shaking his head. Tell me what's wrong.
Mike Tomlin's job is probably on the line for the year, I would say. He has no control over his players. I mean, Juju Smith cost him last Thursday any chance of winning the game. They benched him earlier in the game after he got a 15-yard penalty for taunting, and he still didn't learn his lesson, and he celebrated a first down with 40 seconds to go for 10 seconds, and then his post game interview he blamed it on everyone but himself. So not only does Juju Smith a toxic person in the locker room, I'm pretty sure Chase Claypool is the second highest toxic item. It's just watching last week against Minnesota. Obviously, me being a Minnesota fan, I was loving the first half, but Big Ben he seems like he's getting more and more irritated every game with the play call. Like he's coming off and he's not even talking to Mike Tomlin. He's walking right past him, and you just don't see that. Used to 2-3 years ago, those two were talking on every play after every drive and sideline, and now you don't even see them together. So I just think Mike Tomlin has lost full control of that locker room. And Tennessee, I think they did play a pretty weak game last week. So I think that this week going into Pittsburgh, I think they'll be able to handle it and pretty much end any hope for Pittsburgh in the playoffs this year and any of the fans that have hope for them making it.
Wow, I didn't see that coming. Jeremy, your thoughts?
Well, part of me thinks that a lot of my friends in New York that are Giants fans would love it if Tomlin was fired because they would be all over that. The guy hasn't had a losing season in how many years?
He's never had one in his career.
Right. So it's like, I know that, if that happened, I'm not saying it would or wouldn't. I'm just saying, I know the way New York fans are, they would be all over that. They would be like they would be outraged if they weren't like jumping all over Tomlin if he became available somehow. But they wanted the other guy, Cowler before him, the Giants forever. They've always wanted Cowler. So there's no way they wouldn't want Tomlin. But I actually think, I went with Pittsburgh, even though my gut tells me Tennessee's better and should beat them, I went with Pittsburgh just because I'm just not able to believe that Pittsburgh is going to go under 500. I just can't, because I'm just too trained after all the year after year after year. It's just hard for me to imagine that at home they're going to let that happen. And I'm just thinking Watt is the key name. He's healthy, right? Because he played. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I just think that guys like that, I think this week they're going to find a way, and they're just not going to let it happen. They're going to just find a way.
And looking at the Steelers' schedule the rest of the year, they play the Titans this week. Then they go to Kansas City next week. Then the following week they play at home against Cleveland. And then they play the following week to end the year at Baltimore. So this is truthfully probably their easiest chance to win, because I don't know if next week they're going to have a chance against Kansas City unless they really go out and they could throw the ball over the field. But if they lose on Sunday, I think it's a below 500 schedule or season.
Wow.
For the first time since I think like 2007 or 8 that Mike Tomlin's been there. So, and to look back at it too, I mean, the last 2 games they played at home, they tied Detroit and they won on a 2-point conversion failure by Baltimore with 12 seconds to go. So even playing at home, they're not playing great. They're playing 1 point, 2-point games.
I wanted to look it up real quick to see when the last time the Steelers were that bad, but let's keep going here. We're 5 minutes before 8:00. Guys, make sure you get your lineups in. Your fantasy playoffs are probably starting this week. But then we have Washington going into Philadelphia. This is a matchup of 2 teams where the winning team will probably stay in the hunt, and the losing team will probably start thinking about next year. So what do you think? I like the Eagles at home, but what do you guys think?
I think at home, same reason. I think it's a toss-up game, but just to go with the home team kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Taylor Heineke looked terrible on Sunday against Dallas in that first half. I think he was like 2 for 12 passing with like 2 turnovers or 3 turnovers and like 30 yards. yeah, the second half when the backup came in, it kind of saved the day. But at that point, when you're down 3 scores, you're kind of hoping and praying. So I like Philly at home just for the fact of the stadium is going to be loud. They know it's playoff atmosphere. They have to win, especially with the amount of NFC teams that are playing in close games this week as well that are battling with playoffs around them. And to you said about the Steelers, the last time losing season was 2003.
Yeah, I just looked it up. They were 6-10 in 2003. Tommy Maddox, I think Tommy Maddox, is that their quarterback?
I believe, yeah.
So crazy. Let's see here. No questions in the chat, so let's keep going here. We got the Falcons going into the 49ers. The 49ers seem to be getting hot at the right time. They had a big lead on Sunday. Let that slip away. I was watching Jeremy's live stream. Once the game got close there, made it real exciting. What do you guys think? Atlanta's been playing well too. So what do you guys think of that matchup?
I just don't think that Atlanta can go into San Francisco and beat them in San Francisco. San Francisco is going to be having almost a playoff atmosphere again with their fans. They had it a couple weeks ago with Minnesota, and that stadium was rocking that day. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're just as loud this game. Knowing that if the Falcons win, I think they jump tied with, or their game back of the Niners, and would jump in almost into the playoff seeding based on their schedules and head-to-heads. But if the Falcons lose, it's almost your playoff hopes are almost down because you'll be 2 or 3 games down under 500 with only 3 weeks to go. So I just like San Francisco just because George Kittle is on fire, and he's honestly probably the most exciting player to watch in the NFL just because, one, he pancake tackles people, and while he's doing it, if they have a camera on him, he's usually laughing while doing it. And 2, for a tight end, he reminds me of Travis Kelce, but he also reminds me of Tony Gonzalez a lot just because of his size and the ability that he can just do all different kinds of things. And that when he has one guy trying to tackle him, he usually either can break out of it, and it takes 2 or 3, sometimes 4 people to get him down.
Yeah, Jeremy, any thoughts on Atlanta and San Francisco?
Yeah, I'm all about Kittle. Kittle's going to show Pitts, how to do it. Like, he's going to say, okay, young man, this is your future. You're going to be great one day, but I'm the man right now. And there's, he has all those attributes of all the great tight ends. And there's another one, much more athletic. I'm not comparing him to him in athleticism, but in the toughness and the physicality. I grew up watching a guy named Mark Bavaro for the Giants. From
the Giants, yep.
Who we used to call Rambo. And he has a little of that too. So he has a little bit of Mark Bavaro toughness. Just a beast, won't go down. And he has all the athleticism of the people you're talking about. He's just, to me, the best tight end in the NFL. Every time I watch the Niners play, Kittle just blows me away. He is just an amazing talent.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's hard to say that he's not the best. I mean, him and Travis Kelce are by far the first and second. Mm-hmm. It's a far gap to, I wouldn't say a far gap to third with Darren Waller and fourth Mark Andrews, but there's a big gap difference from Kelce and George Kittle to Waller and Andrews for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Guys, let's keep moving here. We're getting close to the top of the hour. We have Cincinnati going into Denver. I like Denver at home. I think this will be a good matchup. I'm interested to see how the Denver defense matches up against the Cincinnati wide receivers with Higgins and Chase. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I think I took Cincinnati, right?
I do have the list here next to me. Go ahead, Sean.
If Jeremy took Cincinnati, I am rolling with that train because I'm pretty sure the Broncos are 3-point favorites. And other than when they played Detroit on Sunday, Denver doesn't put up more than like 14, 15 points usually a game. So I just don't see them being able to beat Cincinnati just for the fact of Cincinnati knows they're playing for their playoff hopes. They have to have a lot of things go their way with some teams winning and losing. But I like Cincinnati just for the fact that their offense is better, I think, and their defense isn't terrible. It will be able to stop Teddy Bridgewater from scoring, I believe, most of the game.
Yeah, we do have a quick question here. We have Big E. I have a question for defense. Do I start Kansas City defense tonight or Jacksonville on Sunday? I don't like Kansas City's defense at all this week. I think tonight's going to be a high-scoring game. They might get an interception or two, but if those are your only two options, I would roll with Jacksonville against Houston. Sean, what do you think? I don't hear Sean. Jeremy, what do you think?
It's a toss-up for sure between both of them. Jacksonville's playing Houston, and Houston has shown that they can have either really bad weeks or they can, like playing New England or playing like Seattle, they can put up touchdowns and go up and down the field like it's nothing. So I would almost say trust Kansas City more because you know what you're going to get. You might get a couple of sacks with Herbert, a turnover to maybe even a defensive touchdown. And especially with their kick and punt return, you could get a special teams touchdown out of them. Because with Jacksonville, they're so hit or miss, and a new head coach, and I don't know. If those are your only two options, I almost lean more towards Kansas City just because you know what you're going to get.
I do have Jacksonville projected for 10 points this week, and Kansas City only projected 4.5 points on defense this week. But Jeremy, what do you think of the two defenses?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just matchup, right? I mean, overall, defenses, Kansas City's the better defense, but Jacksonville is playing Houston, so I'm going to play it more as I would play it by, and maybe this is wrong. I'm not a fantasy expert, but my fantasy tendencies is to play it by the opponent and say who's more likely to turn the ball over a lot, have a catastrophe, and have a horrible game with turnovers and sacks. And I would say that it's more likely Houston than it is the Chargers.
Right, agreed.
Yeah.
So Big E, thanks for the question. Guys, keep them coming. We're getting close to kickoff here. But let's get back to this week's schedule, finish out the last couple of games here. Green Bay going into Baltimore. I still haven't seen what Lamar's situation is. So I like the Packers on the road here with a win. They clinched the division with a win, and then they could set their eyes on getting the bye after that. But what do you guys think of this matchup?
Baltimore's not looking very good. I mean, I'll just have to roll with Green Bay.
It's hard not to be on Green Bay's side right now. Question marks around Lamar. Is he playing? Isn't he? I know he hasn't practiced all week yet, so it's hard to say. I mean, they are the home team, so they don't have to travel. So he could practice tomorrow and Saturday and then test it Sunday. But Green Bay, besides the first half on Sunday, when I was questioning on what was going on with their defense, because I was texting you the whole time, John, and I was like, what are we doing here? But I just, regardless who's in quarterback for Baltimore, I just think Green Bay wins that game with ease just because they're playing on all cylinders right now, and they're battling for that one seed, and they know what's at stake.
Yeah, agreed. Let's keep going here. We have Seattle going into LA to face the Rams. I wish he was here. I did invite him tonight. Payo time. LA Rams fan. He was live streaming. He live streams during every Rams game, but he was live streaming during the Monday night game against Arizona. He had like 120 people in there at one time. Going back and forth. So that was a lot of fun. I like the Rams at home. Seattle's won a couple of games in a row here, but they were easier matchups. I think the Rams are getting back on track as well. What do you guys think?
This is the COVID protocol game. It's You got, I think I said, 11 Rams on COVID protocol, and I think there's 4 or 5 Seahawks that went on it today. What Rams players are back? I know Henderson's on it mainly. OBJ went on it. A couple of their defensive cornerbacks and linebackers went on it. So that I know Ramsey's on it. So that's key. But also for the Seahawks, they lost Alex Collins and Tyler Lockett to COVID protocol, and Metcalf is banged up, as well as Freddie Swain. So I read today that 1, 2, and 3 for the Seahawks are possibly all injured or not playing. And then I saw that also their 4th and 5th players that were on their practice squad are also banged up. So who even suits up for wide receiver for the Seahawks? Is Russell Wilson going to have to throw to Russell Wilson? It's hard to say, but I like the Rams. They're at home, and they played great against Arizona on Sunday night. Cooper Kupp is by far the front runner, I think, for MVP. Tom Brady, they say, is up there, but Cooper Kupp, for what he's doing at the receiving core this year and first time playing with Matt Stafford at quarterback, it's like he didn't miss a step, and he's even playing better than what he was with the last few years with Jared Goff.
Yeah, agreed.
I just love that Sean didn't even mention, and rightfully so, that what would hurt Seattle was that Jamal Adams out for the rest of the year, because it doesn't really make a difference because Jamal Adams is a fraud anyway.
Their safety position just got better with Jamal Adams being out the rest of the year.
If anything, they got rid of a fraud, so you might have a younger guy come in and play harder.
The best nickname for Jamal Adams, I call him, is Blitz Boy, because that's all he's good for. He's not good. I think out of his 4 interceptions, 3 of them were tipped, and 1 of them was a clear interception. And it's like, you're a safety and you got 4 career interceptions in, I think, 5 years in the league.
And it was against a backup quarterback in garbage time.
Yeah, and he has about 30, and he has about 35 drops. 15 of them were directly in his hands that any one of the 3 of us would have caught.
Yep. Nothing beats. I think it was the Pittsburgh Sunday Night Football game, and they rewinded it like 5 times. When the ball literally hit him right, like he was watching and it hit him square in the head, and they just kept rewinding and rewinding. And I couldn't laugh as many times as I was laughing, because I've never seen someone get destroyed on national television with the ball getting hit him in the head so many times. But
I think Payo Time better get the Reese's peanut butter cups ready, because he's going to be winning that game and eating some peanut butter.
Yeah, that's funny. He waits until Cup scores a touchdown, and then he eats Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah. So that's funny. Then we have Sunday night. We have the Saints heading into Tampa Bay. I don't have it in front of me. Tampa Bay does win the division with a win. The Saints won the first matchup, and I believe the Saints win this matchup as well. Guys, what do you think of this one?
I want to drug test you. A Sunday night football game in Tampa Bay with the division on the line. You think Taysom Hill is going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I do.
Yeah, you got to go for a drug test in the morning. Tampa Bay is going to win this game with breeze, ease. They're battling for a 1 seed. They're tied. There's a 3-way tie in the AFC and a 3-way tie in the NFC. And if the Bucs win this game, I'm pretty sure they're on cruise control, because I think they play the Panthers, the Falcons, and I forget the other team they had to play the rest of the year, but I'm pretty sure they have an easy breezy schedule for the rest of the year that could battle Tom Brady getting the 1 seed. And we all know if Tom Brady gets the 1 seed, it's bad news for the rest of the NFC having home field advantage.
I don't know.
I think this is the time where Tom Brady typically turns on, kind of eases into cruise control and starts going into that playoff mode, championship level type football. So I don't really think the Saints have much of a chance. I think it's not even going to be that interesting of a game.
I did
Yeah.
look. I just looked at the game, or the Bucks schedule. So after they lose to the Saints this week,
Oh my God.
they play the Panthers. Then
Told you.
they go to the Jets, and
A
then they play
win.
the Panthers again. So
Okay, so that's
they'll win two out of their last 4 games.
they're going 4-0.
They're going 2-2. Oh, we're getting a little distracted here. Big E with another question. Should I start Burrow or Fields? I have Lamar also, but I already know he's not a good option. Agree. Even that'd be a tough matchup if Lamar was against Green Bay. But what do you think of Burrow and Fields?
I think if Lamar plays, you start Lamar. He has too much upside. The rushing wise, even with an ankle roll, I still think that you have a better chance of him getting rushing touchdowns and the rushing yards and passing yards than you do with Fields playing Minnesota and with Burrow playing a pretty good defensive cornerback wise for the Broncos. They've been playing on all cylinders right now of late. So I just think that even if Lamar plays, I think you start Lamar just knowing what you have with him with the matchup, knowing that could be a high scoring game.
On Jeremy's channel, we went over this game and we both came up with the phrase saying that Minnesota plays down to their competition.
Yeah, pretty much.
And when that's why I believe Jeremy, you said Fields gets the win here this week. But what do you think of these 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, I actually think. I mean, normally it would be Burrow, of course, but well, maybe not, of course, but not in Denver. Like I wouldn't feel totally comfortable. This is a crazy pick. I don't know that this is the logical, smart pick. I just I have this feeling, and I don't. Sometimes I just get these feelings, and I'm sorry, Sean. I have nothing against the Vikings. It has nothing to do with fandom or who I care about. I just think that this is Justin Fields. I think this is going to be his breakout. In the sense of, I think he's going to have some magic in prime time. I think this is where he's going to win people over, and I see signs of it. He seems to get better near the end of games. He did better than I thought he would in Green Bay against Green Bay. Like at some moment, I was really impressed. I was impressed the way he played against Pittsburgh, and I just have this feeling that he's going to make a big statement in front of the world, in this game, and that this is just going to be a big game for Justin Fields, and he's going to get, nothing to do with Minnesota. I just have this feeling that this guy is in the spotlight. This is like his championship game, right? Or the game when he crushed Clemson. This is just going to be that game for him.
I say this every week. I hope Minnesota loses and we can fire Mike Zimmer. I mean, I say this every week. I say it at least 10 times during the game that the guy needs to get fired. Kirk Cousins is 1-9 on Monday Night Football. The only win he has his one win on Monday night was last year in Chicago. So I hope we win. I mean, if to some reason they say Dalvin Cook is, questionable, I think maybe he'll come out and he'll run for 205 yards again. I can only hope. I mean, but I'm going to have the same kind of mindset that I have for every game when I watch Minnesota. They're going to lose. I don't know what to think of Minnesota. I mean, I'm fan since 1998 when Randy Moss got drafted, and I was 4 years old, and that's when I picked the Vikings as a team, and I've rooted for them ever since. But they're so questionable, and I mean, we were up 29-0 to Pittsburgh, and we somehow almost lost that game. So there's so many question marks. It's just, you got to hope that they decide they want to come out in the first half and they play hard, and they come out in the second half and they want to play harder. And some reason this year that they decide to make sure every single fan of Minnesota has a heart attack. So it'd probably be better off if I don't watch on Monday night, just for the fact I don't got to deal with killing John's phone battery. But if we win, we stay alive for the playoffs. But with a loss, I mean, the playoffs are done, and hopefully Mike Zimmer's fired.
If you guys, I mean, I know if you're like me, you always want your team to win. But I mean, if you're looking to get Zimmer out of there, you can't hope for the playoffs this year, because they're definitely not going to get rid of him if they make the playoffs.
That is not a true statement. I'm pretty sure Chicago, like 2 years ago, fired their coach after they made the playoffs, or somebody fired their coach after they made the playoffs a few years back. I thought it was Chicago. And then look at Detroit. They had a winning record for like the first time for back-to-back years for the first time in decades, and they fired their coach because he won back-to-back years, and now you like losing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think even if we make the playoffs for some long shot, which we need a lot of luck because of tiebreakers and everything, I just think that some way, somehow, Mike Zimmer could get fired yet, because the way he's coached this year has just been impossible to want to cheer for, and hope and pray that it's going to turn out well.
Yeah, Big E says thank you for all your help, fellas. Yeah, absolutely, Big E. Thanks for chiming in. Good luck this week in your fantasy leagues, guys. We're at the end of the show. The game's getting ready to kick off here. I told Sean at the beginning of the stream I'm going to do a quick stream on Saturday around 4:00 to go over, take a little bit deeper look at the two games on Saturday. Maybe some updates on what's up with COVID, and maybe some guys you should be using on Saturday. But Jeremy, why don't you let people know what you got going on?
So I'm about 27 days into my new channel, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. I still work a lot with John all the time. We do things together all the time. So, but I'm trying to build this channel up, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. We do Sunday afternoon, the late games. Me and my brother do watch parties. We do my prediction show that comes out every Thursday. And I'm going to start doing Wednesday night live streams pretty soon. And then you never know when I'm going to jump on live. I'm a little crazy like that. And so check out my channel. And I can't wait to start getting special guests in there too. So that's part of the future too. I'm just getting it started and building it up and coming up with new ideas. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. I do have Jeremy's channel linked down in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, head over there, give him a sub, hit the notification bell. Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look for our side of the aspect with subscriptions and views and all that. We started the year with a goal, and by week 13 we achieved our goal for the year. So cool. Just one day at a time and one subscriber at a time, and you'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Appreciate the encouragement. I'm going to just keep working, plugging away.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you can do.
So guys, enjoy the game tonight. Good luck to your fantasy teams. And we'll be back on Saturday around 4:00. And then definitely we'll be on Sunday at noon as well. So Jeremy, hope you'll join us then again before you live stream on Sunday. But once again, guys, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you over the weekend.
Yep. See you on Saturday, guys.
Take care. Have fun.